The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, commends the National Bureau of Statistics for the rigorous technical work that led to the rebasing of Nigeria's gross domestic product. Equally noteworthy is a transparent and inclusive approach adopted by MBS that enables strategic stakeholders to contribute to the GDP rebasing processes. MAN notes the reported real GDP growth of 3.13% in the first quarter of 2025 from 2.27% in the first quarter of 2024, a modest improvement, which indicates that the economy is capable of recovery. The rebasing of Nigeria's gross domestic product is a critical statistical upgrade that enhances the accuracy of national accounts and reflects structural changes in the economy. The revised nominal GDP estimate showing an 18.3% year-on-year increase is a direct outcome of improved data capture, especially in agriculture services and informal sector activities. Notwithstanding, MAN strongly cautions against interpreting this nominal expansion as evidence of significant economic progress. Joining us on this show to discuss the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria's view on the latest GDP figure is Segun Ajayi-Kadir, Director General, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN. Good morning, Mr. Ajayi-Kadir, and thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, Mr. Ajayi-Kadir, I read a statement in which you were saying that you were misreported. Well, the only difference that I see there is that perhaps, you were reported as having criticized the Bureau of Statistics and the federal government and all of that. But, your statement clarifying your position now says, oh, the MBS did well. It's good to capture data and that what they have done is commendable. But what are your basic concerns? I don't want to summarize them for you since you issued that counter statement. If you could take us through your concerns with the GDP rebasing and what your expectations are as a spokesperson for Manufacturers Association of Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much. And that clarification actually it's very important because we have all wanted a situation where we correctly reflect the true position of our economy. Nigeria is a big economy, and the rebasing has shown, like you rightly reported, that the economy has the capacity to grow, and phenomenally so, saying that so many sectors that were not even captured previously are being captured, and they have seen some measure of growth. But what our concern is, basically, is the fact that the manufacturing sector, which is leading in the industrial sector, has not grown. It actually contracted because the rate in that segment is minus 0.76%. Which is an indication that between 2019 and 2024, we actually witnessed a contraction in that industry and in the manufacturing sector, and that is not good for inclusive growth. We have the opinion that yes, the economy is becoming larger. Yes, investors' confidence will be boosted, but for us to be able to have inclusive growth and one that generates jobs and that is able to positively impact on the life of the people and have a trickle-down effect on the economy, the manufacturing sector needed to grow much, much faster.
All right, thank you so much for that summary. Now, in your statement, you described the decline in output of the manufacturing sector and you advocated for reindustrialization. Now, many might argue that what Donald Trump is doing is reindustrialization for his country and he's driving that through exports, through tariffs, excuse me. China has done an industrialization campaign that was done through government stimulus. My question is, what is the specific industrial policy you're looking for from the Nigerian government to stimulate industrialization and to stimulate more productivity from the manufacturing sector?
Okay, yeah, so basically, there are quite a number of things that government needed to do to boost industrial performance. And as a matter of fact, this current administration has started to do some of them. For instance, they are, for the first time in the history of the country, we are going to have an industrial policy, which basically signposts all that is needed to be done for us to industrialize. The Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, led by the Honorable Minister of State, is actually championing an industrial policy for Nigeria. So, and I think stakeholders have been engaged. There's a widespread consideration of what the initial draft has been. So we needed that to be able to set a direction. Then government needs to also have some policy interventions, particularly for segments of the manufacturing sector that has high potential for high impact. We talk of textiles, we talk of agro-processing, and we talk of pharmaceuticals, for instance. So government needed to enable a process that allows us to scale in those areas and even be able to export, because you mentioned export-led industrialization, and that is critical. Another thing is the regulatory environment. We need to really change it in such a way that regulation is used to support growth and scale, not a situation where you have regulators becoming a bottleneck. The cost of compliance with regulation, and even the capacity for you to be able to meet those requirements that they have set.
Mr. Ajayi-Kadir, are you saying, when you say you want government to facilitate, or you're being a little bit vague, are you saying that you want government to subsidize industry? Are you saying you want government to invest in industry? What is it exactly that you want government to do to facilitate for this increased output? Because that part is a little bit vague.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you very well.
Oh, so sorry, sir. I was saying
Hello?
Your statement is a little bit vague with regards to government intervention to support manufacturers. Is it? Do you want government subsidy on manufacturers? Is it that you want government investment? Is it? What is it exactly that? What is this facilitation from government you're looking for?
Oh, okay. Not by any means. I mean, we're a private sector group, and we will not be asking for subsidies. As a matter of fact, we were one of the advocates for subsidy removal in whatever form. What we are asking for is specific intervention. For instance, in the cost of power, we believe that particularly industrial zones, there should be an attempt, there should be an effort of government to reduce the cost in those areas. The 250% increase we had in electricity is way too high, and I can see some states realizing that it is limiting productivity, asking for a reduction, and I believe conversations are still ongoing. Then you also have a situation where we have some binding constraints that government knows. Those ones, for instance, will include the uncleared forex, which 2.4 billion, which for 2 years running now, 24 months, manufacturers have been owed forwards that they have effectively played their own part. Those are the kind of things that should be taken out. Then you have access to credit. The 75 billion that manufacturers were given recently has been fully disbursed by BOI, and we are awaiting the 1 trillion naira that was promised in the stabilization plan. Government should speed up the process of dispensing those funds to manufacturers, because we actually have about 5 trillion naira financing needs for the manufacturing sector. And this is by UNIDO. So this needed to be given effect to, at least let's start with the 1 trillion. Then we have the rising incidence of insecurity, particularly in the Northeast. We are industries that have shut. We want government to be able to support so that we'll be able to have them return to the factories so that they will be able to produce. So there are quite a number of direct measures that government can take to effect an upward review, an upward movement in terms of the performance of the sector.
Okay, sir, real quickly. So the 1 trillion that was hitherto promised has not been given till date. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm finding it very difficult to hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Maybe you should shake the...
Okay, I can hear you now.
Good. The 1 trillion that was promised has not been given hitherto. Abi, these were the same trillions promised to the manufacturing sector to stabilize things after the effect of the removal of subsidy. So it's not been given. What did they say about it? When are they going to pay that or give that money? Is there anything? And what are the criteria at which they are going to give it? Have they told you or engaged anything there? Secondly, I would like to ask the manufacturers.
Okay.
And secondly, the question is, we are now in a new minimum wage regime. How difficult is it for you to pay that minimum wage with the lack of productivity you people have? How difficult is some of your members paying the minimum wage? I know some of you are paying it, some have not started, and but it's a struggle. How difficult is it to pay that minimum wage compared to your productivity?
Okay, so the first one about the stabilization, about the funds in the stabilization, is actually a process. And I believe that probably budgetary constraints has not allowed its effective implementation. It was actually where after the removal of fuel subsidy, and a plan was crafted for stabilizing the economy and ensuring that the productive sector is helped. And we are very hopeful. We continuously engage government so that that will be dispensed. The precursor to that is the 75 billion, which I said has been expended. And if this is done through BOI, it should work. So we expect government to speed up the process. On the payment of the minimum wage, well, you see, it's a two-sided story. For a manufacturer, you will want that people have money in their hands, so that they'll be able to purchase your goods. We have about 2 trillion, more than 2 trillion of unsold inventory that we are carrying. And you need to pay people for them to be able to buy. So as to whether it is easy for us to pay, I think even before the minimum wage, most manufacturers were paying above 70,000 naira. And so we didn't really have much of a problem. Where the problem comes is for those nano, small-scale industries that do not have high turnover and their portfolio is quite small. So that's where the struggle. But as a matter of fact, 70,000 naira to me is quite low considering the environment in which we find ourselves. So it's actually in our interest to pay more. We have always paid more than government anyway. So the situation is such that we should actually look forward to probably an upward review.
But most of the people in that nano are the ones taking the bulk of the hits off the job market, because the big manufacturing goons are not like, the heavy employers. It's the nano ones that are the heavy employers, and that's the reflection of the true market. So what is it like with those nano members? Because there's this small cottage industry. They employ 10, 15, 20 here. They have a lot of them. Unlike the big boys are not up to maybe 100 or 200. In this country, it's these small nano ones. But they struggle to survive, especially with the regulatory climate.
Yes, everybody knows that we have gone through trying times in our economy, and manufacturers, like some other sectors too, are struggling. But I must tell you that we are experiencing some relative stability, and the idea is for those nano companies to also grow and be able to scale, because you cannot really actualize your full potential if you remain nano. And what we try to do is not to celebrate being small, but to ensure that we support in such a way that they can scale. So we give advisory, we establish link with the bigger ones so that they'll be able to help them. And in some cases, we have even seen them giving credit facilities and outsourcing part of their processes to them so that they will be able to grow. I would like to see a situation where those nano industries are able to scale very quickly and be able to go. But yes, they struggle to pay the 70,000. And by the way, you can only pay this much, depending on the size of your business and the caliber of people that you engage.
Well, DG, your statement is detailed, particularly in terms of recommendations. But who have you communicated this with beyond the media? Because you are recommending policy reform, you are making recommendations about how to focus more on the industrial sector. Have you engaged after the publication of the GDP rebasing to push across these your recommendations? If you have, what is the kind of response that you are getting? Because this is not the first time that the man will come forward and say, we want this, we need this. It usually ends more or less at the level of media commentary. What are you doing this time around to make sure that the relevant policy authorities pay attention to your recommendations?
Okay, yes, thank you very much. That's a very great question. And there's actually a platform now that man is actively playing in, and it's called the Industrial Revolution Working Group, which is under the Minister of State in the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, where we have, and it's more like an interministerial committee or group that has high infusion of private sector people. So what we have done is to have 5 thematic areas where we believe that there are interventions and reforms that are necessarily made to advance the industrial sector. And what we now have is that we have co-created a number of issues, more like a roadmap, what the issues are, who is expected to deal with it, what time is it going to be done, and what are the expected outcomes. We have all signed up. We had a technical session recently in Lagos, and the Honorable Minister is warehousing those things, and we are connecting with those ministry departments and agencies of government that are required to deal with those. So I think most, and in fact, those things that we mentioned here are being front-loaded in terms of how it's going to be dealt with. What is of critical importance, however, is that we need to give speed to implementation. Because if we are going to get to a $1 trillion economy and we are still at $243 billion, you know that we have a long way to go. So there's need for speed. There's need for effective implementation of those things that we have agreed. We have co-created, actually, because we identified the challenges. We were able to link it with all the policy recommendations that we have made before, including the one that we co-created at the summit that we had in the Villa July last year. So all of those are being taken care of in those places, and we believe that we should be able to get some traction very soon. We hope so.
All right. I'd like to hear from you directly about the impact, if any at all. Mr. Ajayi-Kadir, can you hear me? I can see it. Okay. You can hear me?
Yes,
great.
But I'm struggling.
Okay, I will try to project. So I'd like to hear from you directly with regards to the impact, if any at all, of the Nigeria First policy. Because, of course, we know that it was announced with a lot of excitement and high expectations. But so far, it seems that we're not really seeing any implementation as of yet. Any progress on Nigeria First policy? Is it still a policy on paper, or have any of your members benefited from this policy yet?
Okay, so I think even up to now, they are finalizing the document that should give effect to the Nigerian force policy. The truth of it is that this is not also the first time that we have policies that are surrounding the Nigerian force initiative. But what is important about this one is that it is a statement made by the president. The timing coincided with when other nations are doing it. And there are other African countries also that have done this. So we are joining a group of people, and we'll be able to have some peer review so that we'll be able to say, how has it worked in South Africa? How has it worked in Kenya? How has it worked in Ghana? Everybody is giving different kinds of names. So I believe in putting together the document that will guide the implementation. We needed to be able to reflect on the challenges that we've had before. We had Executive Order 003 and to some extent 005, but they were largely observing the breach. So now it should be clear that there are systemic issues that hinder implementation. I mean, if you have asked ministries, departments, and agencies of government to put Nigerian force, particularly in contracts and in their purchases, the military, the army, and so on, and then you have a situation where the agency that should even implement it may not even be complying. You also have a situation where there has not been demonstrated transparency in terms of how it will be implemented, in terms of how the leaders who are supposed to implement it use what is made in Nigeria. So we are actually also on our own, not waiting for the document to come out. We are organizing events that schedule engagement with different ministry departments and agencies of government, where we will intentionally show what is available in Nigeria, what needed to be done, and where those things are needed. I believe that it is important that we also encourage government to do it, because it's going to be a major shift from what we used to know. Government contracts, I mean, government is the biggest spender in the economy. So we need to be able to point them in that direction. And the people have to probably help Mr. President to ensure that we get the right traction this time. I mean, because if we have said that our economy is going much bigger, and we have a target that is just 5 years, 5 years from now.
On that note, Mr. Segun Ajayi-Kadir, we would like to thank you very much for joining us on The Morning Show.